So, enthusiastically, I'm supposed to say, here comes, are you there? Yes. Here comes the moderately amusing Dan Manning. What would you like tonight?
I'd like it in my hand, and thank you.
My pleasure.
I really look up to that man. I am standing up. Okay, I'm 5'6". I was supposed to be 6'5", but the stork was dyslexic. And I have a few notes. I have a few notes too. Hope I don't rely on them too much. You know, despite Randy's best efforts, I still have strong storytelling tendencies. But I can stand up and tell stories. So bear with me just a minute. Oh, I was born a poor black child. Now wait a minute, that's Steve Martin's. Here it is. The strongly abridged, severely redacted, and moderately modified story of my life to date by Dan M. Manning. Manning. And before anybody asks that inevitable question, the answer is no. We're both Tennessee alumni, but I am not Peyton's younger brother. Actually, I'm older. Matter of fact, I'm at the age where many of my stories began long ago and far away. You see, I was born in a little frame house way out in the country a long time ago. And I was named Malcolm, my middle name, after Dr. Malcolm, the country doctor who came around and delivered me. And Dan is my first name's after the horse that he rode in on. But then, a few years later, when my little sister was born, unlike me, she was so ugly that my mother wouldn't have her in the house. But yeah, she went and had her in a hospital. Well, anyway, there's a big gap here, but I finished grammar school, went to high school, and completed basic training all before my 18th birthday. And I was still a little short and skinny, redheaded, believe it or not, freckle-faced kid who, there's a lot of things I hadn't yet experienced. Now, in basic training, my training instructor was a sophisticated staff sergeant, and he had 2 semi-sadistic assistants. Well, no, that's not really a fair assessment. They were full-fledged sadistic assholes. They enjoyed bullying people. They enjoyed driving people into the ground physically. You know, they enjoyed all aspects of their job. Now just imagine a bunch of young airmen standing there for a personal area inspection beside their open footlockers. And I don't mean that kind of personal area, but our sleeping and gear storage areas. The assholes would work their way through the barracks, tossing out insults, various things, penalties for picky problems, occasional verbal outbursts with drop and give me 30. And then they had eventually come to this skinny airman, really skinny airman, with, wonder where Manning got that body. Manning, if you stood sideways and stuck out your tongue, you'd look like a zipper. Anyway, going on. As a young man, I changed jobs just about as often as I changed my underwear. And one of the jobs I had was as a drug runner. I kept the roads hot and honed my driving skills on that job. The boss man, he covered a big area, and his thing was, if you can't come to us, we'll bring it to you. He even kept 2 cars going during the really busiest times. Well, actually what I was a delivery boy for this legitimate little pharmacy. I even became a pretty girl for a while. Well, it wasn't a gender identity thing. I still identified as a ginger young male. But you see, as a fresh-faced lieutenant with the Air National Guard, I attended the Air Force Air Weapons Controller School. And the school's call sign at that time was Pretty Girl. And would you believe it? Turns out that my personal call sign during that school, as I danced my way through that school, was Pretty Girl 22. Well, I'm sure you've noticed what a nice compact hunk of masculinity I've turned into. I mean, that's hard to hide. But one of my best qualities, it's not so obvious. It's my modesty. I really have a lot to be modest about. Think about it. Just look at me. Look at this body. Right now, as an octogenarian, I have the body, by one metric, I have the body of a person 18.5 years younger. Well, it's actually my wife's body, but she lets me hug it sometimes. Yeah, my wife. It's nice to reminisce, and I do remember what it was like way back when. She was such a nice little bundle, and I was such a horny little toad. And for some reason, just like magic, babies started coming. Well, when the first one was about due, she started having what we thought might be labor pains, but they'd come and go, and they varied in intensity by a lot. So I was a little concerned, and I called in to see, ask what we should do. And after I'd explained the situation, the nurse said, "Well, is this her first child?" And I said, "No, this is her husband." Well, sometime later, after our third blessed event, we figured out what was causing all that stuff. So we decided we should practice birth control. So we practiced, and we practiced. And you know what? My time is run out already. Randy, should I continue? More? I'm about to come into the good stuff. Anyway, we tried a lot of different things, but eventually, I had an opportunity to participate in the late trials of a birth control pill for men. The early trials had shown promise, but it didn't make it to the market because the mode of operation was found to be unsatisfactory. Stay with me on this now. See, it was a pill about so big, and you didn't swallow the pill, you put it in your shoe. and it made you limp. Now, a couple of people in this group have a side bet on that. Somebody said it would work, somebody said it wouldn't work. I'm going to let you decide. When I ask for it, yay or nay? Okay, tell me, did that work? Or did it flop? The flop sayer, most of that sound came from the flop sayer. Okay? Anyway, my time really is up. I have a lot more. I could talk to you for the rest of the evening. But I'll try not to. So, listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate the time with you, and maybe sometime later you'll get to hear the rest of my story.
Dan Manning, everybody. Come on down. Good job.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.